This is Kurt Rollo, Sports Information Director at Penn High School. In this Pennant podcast, we'll get to know two head coaches at Penn, Kaitlyn Hickey for volleyball, Barak Coolman for boys basketball. We're also joined by Kingsmen Athletic Director Jeff Hart, who is the girls soccer head coach at Penn. Kaitlyn is a two-time volleyball state champion for Penn. She had a standout coaching career as a travel coach and was the recruiting coordinator for the Northern Indiana Volleyball Association. Kaitlyn was a two-time All-American at IUPUI. Barak was the head coach at Valparaiso High School in Fort Wayne Northrop. Prior to taking over the head coaching position at Penn, he coached Valparaiso to 151 victories, and his teams at Northrop won 102 games. His teams have won a total of 6 sectional championships. Jeff, when you're conducting a search for a head coach, what characteristics are most important to you?
Well, I think we don't want to ever put ourselves in a box per se, but we're always going to be patient, prepared, to find head coaches with a few characteristics. Number one, we want them to be positive leaders of young people. We want coaches that are competitive and will push our student athletes to be the best versions of themselves. We want coaches that are going to win with humility and with grace. And certainly we want coaches that are going to do all they can do to provide a positive experience for the kids that they lead. With Kaitlyn and Barak, I believe we found two head coaches that definitely have those traits.
Why was Kaitlyn the best choice for Penn volleyball?
Well, I think you mentioned it in your intro. She's a Penn star coming home. Like you said, she's a 3-sport student athlete. She's a 2-time state champion in volleyball. She's a member of our 2011 state runner-up girls basketball team. She's in IUPUI's Hall of Fame. She's one of only 28 Kingsmen in the last 40 years to be named a Mental Attitude Award winner. All the different things she's done, she certainly understands the importance of high school athletics to young women. She comes from a volleyball family, a family that's certainly given her a foundation of self-confidence, and she has a great passion to grow the sport. And I really do think our young female athletes are going to love playing for her.
Kaitlyn, what does it mean to be the head coach of the Kingsmen?
Well, it's definitely an opportunity that I couldn't pass up, being able to step into such a great academic and athletic school. I've continued following along with Penn volleyball throughout the years, having siblings and many cousins playing, and I've always wanted to see them succeed. But now being in the position to help drive that success, it's a lot, but I've been surrounded by very trustworthy staff that have helped tremendously so far.
Could you share a little bit about your background, maybe that we haven't touched on, or your family, how they've influenced your career?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a student of the game. I can watch, talk, play volleyball all day, every day if I got the opportunity to do so. So Jeff had mentioned that my family has been a great part of volleyball. And so every game we break it down. We'll sit there and talk play by play. What were we thinking? Why did I make the choice that I made? And that has really helped me develop my game throughout. When I went down to IUPUI in Indianapolis, it was a great fit for me. I hold a couple records there, and we made it to our first NCAA tournament appearance. And then I was just inducted into the Hall of Fame in May. When I was born, my dad was actually wearing a Volleyball is Life shirt in the hospital, so it's been meant to be for years. But my mom actually taught my dad how to play, and then he's coached all of us girls throughout the years. I'm the oldest of 6, so I currently live with my brother Joe, who played golf for Penn. Then Rachel played at South Alabama, Allie plays at Lewis, and Emma plays at Valpo for volleyball. And then Josh will be a junior here at Penn playing lacrosse. So everything is taken as competition at our house. No one gets it easy. And then I work a couple minutes down the road as the CFO for Trimador and the recruiting coordinator for NEVO, where we had 11 of our 11 seniors commit to play in college this past year.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you.
Well, that'll be really helpful in terms of what you bring to the Penn program. If you have players who want some guidance through the recruiting process, what are some key points that you ask students to consider for college?
Absolutely. I always tell the girls, you never know who's watching you at any time, so they have to carry themselves with pride, no matter if winning or losing, frustrated or really happy with how they're playing. Everyone knows everyone. You would be so surprised with how small of a circle the community really is. So telling these girls, watch what you're saying, or people I might know, it doesn't hurt to ask for some help with that recruiting and the networking that is available there.
Barak, what did it mean for you when you were named the head coach at Penn boys basketball?
Well, it's incredibly humbling and honor to be able to be named the head coach here at Penn High School. Obviously, there's a strong tradition to replace Coach Rhodes, who's a Hall of Fame coach and had so much impact on my life as a person and also as a coach. It's just an exciting opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to getting into the school year and getting this first season off to a great start.
Can you share a little bit about your background, where you grew up, where you played ball, maybe a little bit about your family?
Well, I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I was kind of born into a sports family per se, but really a Purdue basketball family because my mom was a Purdue cheerleader. My dad was a Purdue Glee Club member. So Purdue basketball from a young age was pretty much what my family revolved around. And so that love of basketball was something that was fostered in me. And so I had two older brothers who were very competitive in sports. And so I just fell in love with the game of basketball. It was my favorite thing. Probably wasn't even the best sport of choice for me, but that's the sport I loved. And unfortunately grew to be a 6'4" center, which there's a lot of those running around Indiana, but just not a lot of those playing college basketball at a high level. But fortunately, I had a good high school career, and Coach Lightfoot from Bethel College recruited me to come up here and play. And that's when I first kind of got introduced to Penn athletics, and just obviously the state knew Penn, or at least where I grew up with the Snyder and all the Fort Wayne schools playing against Penn football. You knew about it, but didn't really know kind of the wide success of all the sports. And then coming up here and playing at Bethel, and being fortunate to play on a few national championship teams, I can even just remember the success back, in the late '90s of the Penn athletics, and so that was something that just even at an early young age, I remember the influence of Penn sports in the Michiana area. And then after college, I had the opportunity to become a basketball coach. Coach Lightfoot asked me, and that was my dream. My dream was to be a college coach at the time, and he asked me to be the assistant coach there at Bethel, and I coached with him for 4 years. Prior to being my senior year, I got married, so I wouldn't suggest doing that, but marriage is great. Just don't do it right before your senior year of college and have to graduate. I was on the 5-year plan when I met my wife, and she turned it into the 4-year plan. So I got married and then took 21 and 23 hours to graduate, and then was a senior captain at Bethel my senior year. So from then on, really didn't know anything other than being a basketball guy, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to coach basketball, and my wife's been a great support. When you see her at the games, she's all in. She's been an amazing coach's wife. We've been married 23 years now, and she's had a huge influence on me and a major support system for me as a head coach. And anyone that's coached any kind of sports, your spouse takes the back seat very often, and it has to sacrifice so much. But my success as a coach would not be what it is without her. And so that's just kind of a side note that I've always got to mention her, because it's our family kind of ministry job. We do it together. It's our lifestyle. It's not a job. It's our lifestyle. We coach year round, and we try to make an impact on the young men that we're involved with. So from there, cross paths with Coach Rhodes. And at a young age, when I was continue to pursue my dream of being a college coach, but then I decided that life was not conducive to being a dad and a husband, and kind of changed my trajectory after 4 years, and went to Fort Wayne, and then got asked to be an assistant coach at Homestead High School. Was there for 3 years, and then Coach Rhodes and I got together again because we started running a camp, but then joined each other at Fort Wayne Northrop, and that's where he took the head coaching job for 1 year, and then after that retired. I became the head coach. 2 months later, Penn job opened up, and he took the Penn job, and then 15 years later, we're here. So that's a quick story. You could ask any questions, but I could go on and on about that whole process. But just super excited to be here at Penn.
And your children will be going to PHN schools?
Correct. Yeah, I have 2 children. I have a daughter, Kaitlyn Coolman. She's a junior to be. Excels in everything she does, very similar to my mother. 1%er has to be the top 1% of everything she does, and she works hard, great attitude, very strong in the classroom, and is a good volleyball player. She's been fortunate to be a setter at a high level. She was an all-conference player as a freshman and sophomore at Valpo High School for 2 years as a freshman and sophomore, first team all-area last year as a sophomore. So excited for her because volleyball is her love. And actually, as a dad, I love watching her play volleyball. I don't want to miss any of her games, and it actually makes it a lot easier. So a lot of people ask me, does she play basketball? And she knows basketball. She loves basketball, but she never wanted to play it. And it actually works out better as a basketball coach when your daughter loves a different sport because you get to spend a lot more time enjoying her doing that. And then I have a son, Caleb Coolman, who's going to be an 8th grader here in the Penn system. And he loves basketball, and he's worked real hard to become a good basketball player and has a bright future also.
Kaitlyn, you grew up in the Penn system, played on 2 state championship teams for Penn. As you mentioned, a number of your siblings and cousins have worn the black and gold. What advantages are there for you as a coach, having grown up with PHM excellence and having been part of this program?
I think the advantage is the loyalty and passion for Penn athletics. It's never gone away. Getting to still be invested every single year and paying attention to how they are successful. And then coming back as a coach, it's really neat to see all the coaches that are still here who were my coaches when I played softball and basketball. And Penn isn't meant for just a one-and-done coach. So that shows like it's an atmosphere of building a program, not just one great team. And I bought into that as a player early on, and now I hope to continue that as a coach.
Barak, you've seen Penn from a different perspective. What was it about Penn basketball and Penn schools that made you want yourself and your family to be part of this community?
There's multiple things. It basically boils down to relationships for me. Obviously, the relationship with Coach Rhodes. He was the one that kind of reached out to me when he was contemplating getting out and reached out to me about even looking into the position. And so obviously the success of the school and the sports and it's a priority here. But I would say it's even bigger than that because, there's a lot of good competitive programs throughout the state. But then when you start really kind of unpacking it, my relationship with my Bethel community, Coach Lightfoot and his wife, my wife went to Northwood High School, so there's a lot of family in this area also with her. Dr. Bowling and his wife, Yvette Bowling, are close family friends. I worked for him 20 years ago for his clinic. So there's so many relationships that kind of tie into that make it way bigger than just the chance to come here and compete at a high level. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. And the Penn's academics, Penn's athletics, and the facilities and everything, it's an elite community in school. And even my relationship with Dr. Thacker, it's kind of a funny story. A long time ago, it would have been 16 years ago, I first met Dr. Thacker, and he actually interviewed me for a position that I wasn't qualified for because at the time I was transitioning from my Youth for Christ job and trying to get a teaching job in Fort Wayne or anywhere. And Coach Rhodes said, "Hey, Dr. Thacker just became the superintendent. Why don't you go meet with him and see if there's anything that he could do?" So I was so young and naive, I didn't realize it was a big deal to go meet with the superintendent for an hour. I drove up here and sat down with him with no teaching license, no anything, and told him my story, and he was very gracious and talked to me and basically said, "We'd love to help you. I don't know if there's any job we can get you right now." And so just even that relationship, knowing the stories from Coach Rhodes about his relationship with Dr. Thacker and that. And then just there's some additional ones. Coach Julius Smith is a really close friend of mine. He was my varsity assistant at Northrop High School for 7 years, and he and I helped run Coach Rhodes' camps in Fort Wayne for 10 years. So there's just so many different things that attracted me to this job. I loved my position at Valpo High School. It was a great job, great community, and really enjoyed it there. Didn't need to leave, but when this opportunity was presented, it was too good to turn down. And even just the opportunity for my kids, Kaitlyn and Caleb were both on board. In fact, if either one of them had any hesitations about coming, I would have said, "No, it is great a job and greatest opportunity this is. I'm going to make sure that I do what's best for my family." And Valerie, she's a doctor of physical therapy and teaches orthopedic manual physical therapy all over the world. And is very supportive and willing to sacrifice some of her own personal, professional things for me. So the support of the family, But like I said, it comes back down to the relationships with all those people that I mentioned, even the interaction through the interview process with the teachers. And Jeff here, he did a great job of just selling the program and what it has to offer. And so we really had a piece about making the decision coming here.
Jeff, you started the Coaches Academy this summer. Can you talk about the Academy, its objectives, and how can the Academy help new coaches transition into the Penn athletic program?
Yeah, the PHM Coaches Academy, we technically started it this summer. We had a half-day professional coach development in June. We invited all PHM high school and middle school coaches to a morning of speakers, breakout sessions, and a working lunch. The idea was originally put in place by Dr. Linsky, who was the athletic director before I was, back in 2011. And he had wanted to put it in place to provide a needed structure and support for all of our coaches, both our newer coaches and our veteran coaches. So that helped form the outline of that day. The objectives of that half day were pretty simple. We wanted to reinforce the mission of education-based athletics, which is athletics are an extension of the classroom. And we hope to use the platform to give our coaches a chance to reset, to refocus, and in some cases to confirm that they're in coaching for the right reasons. How can new coaches take advantage? In some of the breakout sessions, we had first-year coaches that were, Coach Coolman was in the breakout session with me, and second-year coaches getting to hear him speak. And I think we had another coach that had been a coach in our system over 30 years. And so there's just a lot of give and take. When it all comes down to it, most of us or all of us should be in this for the right reasons, right? We should try to develop the heart of a teacher, a great teacher, and do all we can to positively affect the young people that we're all ultimately responsible for.
Can I add a little bit about
Sure.
the coaches? I mean, it's a breath of fresh air to come to a place that knows how valuable coaches are, and to sacrifice and also to kind of to go above and beyond, because everyone knows how valuable coaches is. There's not a place that you coach or teach, and I've been all over the state, but then to go to one up it and say, hey, we know it's valuable, and we're gonna invest in a time that we don't have to, and we're gonna do more. And it's so important because we're all probably around this table because of a coach. Some coach poured himself or herself into us, and then nobody actually feeds the head coaches, and it's a very lonely position, even the assistant can be. And so to have a system and a program, Penn, to say, hey, we're going to make it a priority, it's a great opportunity, super enjoyable, and definitely very needed. And there's the high level of burnout in coaching across the state and across the country, and so definitely needed, and I'm excited to be able to maybe help contribute to that and know that it's going to be a valuable resources to all of our coaches, and the coaches that have mentored me, then I can help pass that on. And it continues, just like the whether it be mentoring me as a coach or as a player, that we're all doing it. And so Jeff, thank you for making that happen, and it definitely duly noted that that doesn't go on everywhere. In fact, very few places is it going on, and if they do, they don't even treat you the treatment beyond it. It was top notch. And again, it's just another kind of example of why Penn is where it is and what it is, and why we pursue excellence in all we do here.
And I think you made a great point. It's about being lifelong learners, but also students today face so many more challenges. I mean, how do you weave that into your coaching, where you try to be a source of inspiration and encouragement for your students as well as teaching the game?
Absolutely. I went to a coach's clinic on Sunday and actually just got to hear from all of the Indiana volleyball coaches throughout the whole state. And they said, ask questions. Like you kind of steal things from each coach and you make it your own, but take advantage of the experience that they offer or the different backgrounds that they come from to be able to help you continue to help your players and athletes too.
Who are some coaches who have influenced you, and what are some things you've taken away?
Honestly, everyone. I'm always watching and listening. I'm very observant of the game around me and people talking it or just watching it on TV. And it started with my parents, but I'm already being called Lou 2.0, which is my dad, because we speak the same game. So anyone who saw us coach together 2 years ago for club. We definitely were saying the same exact thing. He just says it a little bit louder than I do. But I've learned a ton from Adria Anderson, who's the owner of NEBA, and how she connects with each team and just builds off those team strengths. Every season may not look the same. So figuring out those goals and the best path to reach them and adapting to it, she does a great job with that. So I really got to see that throughout the different years and the different levels she might have with her team. And her just really getting them to love the game and keep pursuing to play it. And then I watch a ton of college volleyball. So Louisville has become one of my favorite teams to watch, and I follow their coaches on social media. They'll post drills they do or focuses that they have throughout a practice or really anything that you might want to know. And I've realized even at the college level and the high school now that coaches want to assist other coaches. So they're very open to questions being asked to them and trying to help you out. They're not selfish to, like, I'm the only one that wants to succeed. Like, they want you to get better too, so that they're getting better, having better competition around them.
Barak, who've been some coaches who've played a major role in helping you become the coach you are?
Well, I alluded to Coach Rhodes and Coach Lightfoot. Those are probably the two main that have spent majority of time with and hours that they've invested. I worked for Coach Johnson at Homestead High School for 3 years, another state championship coach. But they honestly, the guys that besides those coaches, my staff has made a huge impact in my life. And I think that's, I've purposely, I'm a very big includer. And so I always, Sir Jeff will be driven nuts by me because I always need more seats on my bench because I'm going to always have as many coaches that are available if they're good fits. And through the process of my 15 years of being a head coach, I've had probably 20 to 25 different coaches work with me over those times, come and go. And so I'm constantly trying to learn from the guys I'm working with. And so those guys have made just as much impact on me. My time at Valpo was huge because I asked Virgil Sweet and Skip Collins and even Punter. Punter was on my staff for a while, and the guy named Bob Barthel. These guys were coached at Valpo for 40-some years. And so even like Skip Collins would send me an email after about once a week, every other week. So when he'd watch a game or pick something up he sent one to me beginning, and I think he was kind of sheepish. I was like, no, please. I need to coach me. Like, I don't know it all. You've been around this community. So when you see something, please don't hesitate to let me know. It's not about me. It's about making the guys better. And so I constantly looked for ways to grow. And so just to have those guys pour themselves into me and be a part of that Valpo community as coaches was awesome. And just the same thing. And fortunately, I've now I think it was 5 or 6 of my former coaches have become head coaches now through the process.
Jeff, who have been some coaches who've influenced your coaching style?
I think in a lot of ways it's like Kaitlyn. I learned from so many different coaches growing up, and obviously I'm a lot older than these guys. But I think at the end of the day, I learned things that I wanted to do and be like, and there were certain things that I didn't like growing up, and certainly have stayed away from those types of things. But I would say from a positive standpoint, my own dad was probably my biggest influence as a coach. Incredibly humble, kind, treated the last kid on the bench the same as the superstar. Taught me a lot about fairness, winning and losing with class, all the things that I think fit in very well into a high school environment. And of course, I didn't start coaching high school until I was in my mid-40s, and so that helped the transition at that point. But truthfully, Kurt, I've learned more about coaching and leading kids in a high school environment since I became the AD by just being around coaches here at Penn High School every day. I mean, when you look up and down our roster of coaches, it's an amazing group of people, and these guys included. And that's why I was so impressed in our Coaches Academy. Barak being able to speak, he's 15 years as a head coach. That's a lot of experience, and
made a lot of mistakes along the way. So
yeah,
that's what you learn from.
But we're willing to talk about them, and then young coaches learn from that. And you have Coach Yeoman in the building, and Coach Rhodes, who I spent a lot of time with, and the last 5-6 years. and then some of our younger coaches that have had great success, Coach Zachary, Coach Christie, I mean, just across the board. And so I try to learn from those guys every day. And then just the tremendous amount of assistant coaches. It's always a reminder that those guys are grinding every day to help kids, and they're doing it not in the spotlight, for better or worse, like a lot of times like we are as head coaches.
It's such a demanding profession. It's a profession that you're in the hot seat sometimes. It can be thankless. But what are the rewards? What do you love about coaching, Jeff?
I love every day of it, and it's the reason that I was able, when I became the AD, I was able to continue coaching girls soccer. Every year is a new journey. I think that's part of the so much fun of it. Expectations don't mean anything. And in Indiana, everybody gets into the postseason, so you can use your season to grow into the team you can be, and kids can grow into the types of players they're meant to be. And so I love everything about it. And even the tough days, tough losses where you have to bounce back, and we're the focal point of it. And Kurt, you're in this classroom every day. Kids see everything. They see the good, they see the bad, and so it's a reminder to all of us to be the best version of ourselves as well. So I love it.
So, what advice would you give your younger self about coaching? What do you know now you wish you would have known year one?
Well, that's interesting. I would say I've coached my all four of my kids at various stages in life. Thankfully for my oldest daughter, I did not coach her in high school, because looking back, there are times when I cringe with embarrassment of how I overreacted to things that she, a mistake she may have made on the field, or and it's I don't react that way anymore. And so I would say the way I overreacted to things as a younger coach, and took everything seemed to be like in the moment, instead of just stepping back and realizing that everything is a growth opportunity for me as well.
Kaitlyn, what fuels your passion for the profession?
Well, I definitely love the strategy side behind the game, and getting your team to the point where they realize they don't need to have a monster block or a straight down kill to be considered good at the sport or successful. Like it really is a long game where they're starting to realize how to score against teams. And when they do figure out that strategy and it clicks for some girls, you'll ask them a question like, why did you do this? And they answer it to where you can see they're processing it and thinking about it. That really does give me chills. And like from watching my siblings play sports, like I didn't know how invested I was for their playing. Like I was intense myself as a player and very competitive, but getting to see them and seeing them do great things, it almost brings tears to my eyes every time I'm watching them. So just seeing that growth behind a player, and I met all of these girls, and they're so nice and sweet and humble, and they really do want to be good for each other. So that really drew me to come try to coach them at that level.
Barak, what do you love about coaching?
Ultimately, the relationships, and just the time spent with those guys, and even my coaching staff. I love to compete too, and so winning is relief and losing is agony, but winning is also there's so much thrill that can come from that in that moment, but it also can be taken from you in that second. And so, but I often say, I won't know if this season's truly a success until 5 to 10 years from now, when I can see kind of the real fruits of my labor. Yeah, we can see the record, or we can see the all-conference stuff, or the state accolades, or even the scholarships earned. But really, when you circle back and you have guys, the former players circling back, and the longer you do it, it's more noticeable. I know the first few years it was tough, because you didn't realize kind of the impact you're making on a lot of these guys, and so when those guys that had graduated and gone, and then all of a sudden circle back 5 years later, and hey coach, and when you come to my wedding, or hey here's my wife, and here's my kids, and here's what I'm doing. And even this past weekend, we were in Fort Wayne with an AAU tournament. My son was playing. He's an eighth grader to be, and one of my former players just showed up to see Caleb. I hadn't seen Caleb in probably 9 years, and so, and it was like, Caleb, do you remember Jacoby? And Caleb's like, yeah, I remember the time your knee, you got injured and you were at our house rehabbing all weekend long so you could play the next week, and like those kind of memories and experience. And then Jacoby going, hey, I'm a real estate agent now and I'm doing this and I've got this business, and then sending me a text after, Coach, it's great to see you. We hadn't talked for 5 years, and Julius and him are real close, and so he said, man, Coach, thank you. I don't know if I told you this enough, but you're one of the reasons why I'm successful. And this is a guy that I haven't talked to in 5 years, but there's a relationship because we went through the fire together and had so many experiences together, and that's the payoff. It's not the 3 sectional championships I won with him. That he won with me. He was doing a lot of the work, but but it's the, man, this kid's got it. He's making a huge impact on his community, his and so for me, that's way more important. I always say it's not about winning until you lose. It's because everyone always says it's not about winning. Well, it kind of is. We definitely need to win, because I'm not going to stay around very long if we don't win, and that's the whole point of this. So we're competing to win. But the winning allows us to then really have a chance to really spend time and build these lifelong relationships. And even the losses also galvanize us and draws us together too. So the whole experience is painful. Like Coach Rhodes, I think, would always say, you never feel so alive, but it's also so painful too, because it hurts so bad.
Great answer.
Kaitlyn and Barak, what do you do to make a program change go smoothly for the student athletes? How do you make that transition seamless, or is it better to have upheaval and change? And how do you address it in your program, Kaitlyn?
Well, definitely going through it right now for them. They're learning, I'm learning. But I try to just be as transparent as possible with everyone, all of them. Like, I'm upfront about where I see in their roles or what I need from them. We started the summer off with open gyms, and I had each of my coaches just address all of the players at once, saying, these are the things that I will notice in a good way, and these are the things that make me tick. As a kind of like a, hey, probably try not to do these things throughout the summer for tryouts if you really want to push forward to be on one of our teams, because those are the things that we kind of recognize outside of the skill of the game. So just trying to be very clear to what we want from the athletes, and then what we kind of expect from them too, is how I'm trying to address it. We will see how that goes.
Barak, how do you handle the transition to make it smooth for the student athletes?
Actually, I don't think it can be smooth. I think because change is really hard. Everyone loves the thought of change, but no one likes to change. And so going through this process, it's going to be difficult. There's a Hall of Fame coach that's created a style and a way, and fortunately, I have a lot of the foundation stuff that Coach Rhodes has taught me, but we're vastly different, and so it's all new for everyone, and I often tell our guys the struggle is what makes us stronger. So even going through this change, it's making me stronger. It's a struggle. I'm way out of my comfort zone. I got comfortable at Valpo. I could have just stayed there and continued to kind of plug and chug, but I got out of my comfort zone and come over here, and that's going to force me to get better. And just like it's going to force these guys to learn and grow, and so we need to not make it smooth. We're going to make it smooth in as far as basketball, but it's going to be tough because guys are being asked, and also it's really not very fair because 6 really good seniors left. So like to expect it's going to be smooth or easy, that change, and I think that's kind of the nature of the beast. It changes every year. Coach Rhodes would say, you never coach the same team twice. It dies every season. When the season ends, I've never once had the same team twice. So every year is a change. And even though I'm changing here to come to Penn, it's a good thing that it's going to be difficult. It's a good thing that we're going to have to struggle. First of all, it's forced me to be a better coach because I can't take things for granted. I got to teach, I got to coach my coaches, I got to coach my players, I got to get everybody on board. So I've got to communicate even better than I did. And so through that process, I think it's going to make us all better. It's going to make them better, and it's going to give kids opportunity to learn and grow, and they all get the same lessons, and the one that's figured out and do the things the best are going to have the best opportunity to be successful Kingsmen.
Kaitlyn, can you talk about the Kingsmen volleyball team? What's been happening this summer, and what do you love about this team?
Absolutely. So we've definitely been getting after it in open gyms. I'm very purposeful and intentional with practices or the open gyms just to get in and get out. Like, we don't really want to mess around during that time. And I work a full-time job, so they're kind of subject to my time frame of when we can do things. So I do really want to try to give them all that attention when we can. I have an advantage of great coaches on our staff, and they do a great job in positional work. And I trust each of them and their knowledge already, so I don't have to micromanage and really stand on top of whatever they're teaching. I've allowed them to kind of teach their courts, and I can kind of walk around and observe everything else that is going on. And then these girls, like I said, they're so sweet. I had some of them in the spring on a club team, so I got to meet them there, and I really did just want the best for them. And that really led me to applying for the job. They're great teammates, and that's what we want in the gym. Like, you can be an amazing athlete, but we do really want to build that great teammate. And so we're looking for that competitive, disciplined teammate.
Barak, boys basketball, what's the summer been like, and why are Kingsmen fans going to be excited about this team?
Well, it's been an opportunity for us to learn and grow, for me to learn and just meet and understand. There's a lot of interest in, obviously, Kingsmen basketball. And so from the camps that we've done, from the workouts, the weekend shootouts that we've been able to participate, it's given me the opportunity to really see and evaluate all the guys that are kind of, I guess, interested in being Kingsmen basketball players. And so super excited about the guys, and there's going to be a lot of tough decisions to make. Unfortunately, because of the nature of basketball and even with volleyball, it is a cut sport. So right now, we don't have a team. And you never do until that tryout takes place. You have some ideas, you have some guys that you think, and so the growth that we've made over these last kind of 7 weeks of basketball minus the moratorium week, it has been really exciting to see. Just that we're getting on the same page. Guys are picking up the stuff, and some guys are progressing faster than others, and some are struggling to learn a new kind of concept. I'm a very much of a guy that we're going to defend, and I think this year's team is, obviously, we don't have the firepower that we did last year at Penn, but we still have some quality young men, and it's going to be we're going to be kind of a good mix of seniors and some juniors and even some underclassmen that can be a part of that varsity group as they continue to develop. We've got some good leadership, and we've got multi-sport athletes that are going to be able to kind of represent us on the gridiron and maybe even some other fall sports, and then come in and use hopefully some of the fall success as leaders and carry that into the basketball. And then we've got about half of them that are basketball only. So you got that good mix of kind of figuring out who's going to fit where, and I often talk to our guys of what line are you getting into, and I help them try to figure out, like, what role are you good at, and so because I figured this out on my own. When I got to Bethel, I was the 16th man on the roster, and we'd won a national championship that year, and that's it's great to be a part of a national championship team. But I wanted to play, and I looked, and we're averaging 100 points a game, and I was a decent scorer, but I was like the 15th best scorer in the program, and that wasn't a very good line to get. If you're like, hey, I'm going to be the shoot all the time line, that you got to be really good to be one of the. So what I've been telling our guys is, like, figure out what we need. If you're a great rebounder and you're the best rebounder, you're going to play. So you could be the 8th best scorer on the team, and the first rebounder, if you say I want to be the scorer, well, you're not probably going to play. Go get in a different line if you're a better. So trying to help them play to their strengths and figure it out while I'm doing the same thing, because I don't know. It's been like I walked in and I'm going to say, show me what you can do. And through that process, I see a lot of guys really growing because they're starting to kind of figure out what they can do and how they can help. And so that's the thing that excites me about the team. We're going to be different, but we're going to compete. We're going to defend. And we've got some guys that are learning to score in different ways, not just give it to Marcus and get buckets. We're going to have to kind of have a lot more synergy this year and strength with numbers and a slow process of just kind of beating teams up and playing really tough and being really physical. And with that process, I saw a lot of growth in even doing that in our short times of games. And so that's what I'm excited about. future's very bright. We got a lot of young talent also, and so even beyond this year, I think this year's senior class is gonna lay a foundation that's different than they're gonna build on the things that was done well in the past, and then do other things better that wasn't done so well. And so that's what I'm excited about, just the new opportunity for all of Kingsmen basketball.
Jeff, can you talk about girls soccer, how the summer's been going, and how have you guys been building on last season's sectional championship? That was so exciting. Is that momentum carried over?
It absolutely has. What I would say is we've had a very productive summer, a very exciting summer. We're incredibly young. It'll be the youngest varsity roster that we've had since I've been here. Very talented. And so there'll be some bumps along the road. And then we've also got some young players coming back from we had a rash of injuries last year, and some really key kids that missed the season, and they're back looking great. And so extremely exciting. We've worked hard. We expect to have an exciting season. One of the things that I was talking before we went on air, we just are finishing up the new turf field out at Lions Head Field for soccer and lacrosse. And I've been reminded multiple times in the last week or two from Coach Dykes, our baseball coach, and Coach Zachary, our softball coach, that they both won state after getting turf fields. So, so there's a little bit of pressure there, and but that's a good thing. And so we cannot wait to get started.
Can each of you talk about your staff and your assistant coaches, and just briefly what each one brings to the program? Jeff, you want to start off with soccer?
Absolutely. I've had the foundation of our staff has been with me for a long time. Coach Ormsby, this will be her 11th year with me, and she's varsity assistant. She's the athletic director down at Grissom Middle School, and she was a multi-sport athlete at Bethel as well. And so she brings a lot of experience, but also just a great role model for our student athletes. Coach Pasco, Kaylee, played the game at a high level at Bowling Green, and has been with us this is her 6th year, and really in many ways runs our day-to-day things, especially with my job if I'm not out there at the beginning of practice at times, and so she does a great job with our varsity. Coach Gutierrez, Jose Gutierrez is a teacher in the building. He oversees our JV program, and wonderful job, great player in his own right, has a great relationship with kids in the building, and so he's been a huge addition in the last few years. And then Coach Hirschberger just stepped down. He's leaving education, and he's been with me for years, and he's been a very close friend of our family for many years, and so he'll be a big loss to the PHM community. But I love my staff. It's we get along great, wherever we are in the state. I mean, I think I get a lot of feedback that you could tell your staff loves each other, loves being together. Our kids feed off of that, and so that's been kind of our calling card around the state.
Kaitlyn, you've put together a new staff. Can you talk about that?
Yep. So starting with our freshman team, we've got Coach Josie Engdahl. She was a varsity setter for Penn and will be a 4th grade teacher at Meadows Edge. So she knows how to work with the young kids, which is amazing. She brings that setter knowledge and has been working wonderfully with the freshmen all summer. JV coach is my sister, Rachel Hickey. She was a 4-year varsity libero for Penn, then went on to play at IUPUI, then South Alabama, where she was the Sun Belt Conference Libero of the Year and led her team to their first NCAA tournament appearance. She would tell me that she won a set in her NCAA game, so she did better than IUPUI did when I played there.
Who's counting?
Yeah.
The Hickeys are.
We all are. But this will be the first time in about 9 years that we're living in the same city, getting to rehash on what we've learned throughout my college experience and then her college experience. So I'm really eager to learn from her on the defensive side of the game and just see, since she improved so much through that college, and she brings such a fun fire to the game. And then varsity assistant is boss man Adam Marshall. He was a setter for Penn on the men's team way back when, and this will be his 15th year coaching. He always keeps practices fun, plays against the girls, and has the sweet hookup as the owner at Page's Custom Lettering, so he's always bringing new gear around.
Got to get that Pages, the Pages promo in. Oh, Barak, your staff.
Well, I'm always slow in trying to fill out my staff just because especially in a new place, you always want to make sure it's good fits. And so I'm still working on finalizing my staff. But the guys that have been helping me this summer are some staples of Penn basketball over the years. So Coach Lemmy's been helping all summer long. I've known him since Coach Rose became a head coach here, and have had a good relationship with Coach, and he's just a wealth of Penn knowledge and just very, very great with the guys. And then Julius Smith, definitely. It's been so fun to get to reunite with Julius. Coach Smith and I, we could write some books on just what to do, what not to do, and also just the crazy stories that we had at Northrop from the Bryson and Brenton Scott twins and all those experiences and all the battles with Deshaun Thomas and James Blackman and everyone that just. So it's been fun to get back with Julius. Actually, Caleb was like, "Do you guys even like each other?" Because Julius is not a yes guy, and that's so great to. I can remember going to Valpo and my staff, they're kind of like, "Should I do this?" or do you want me to? And Julius doesn't have to ask; he just does, because it's like even though we've been apart for 8 years. Those 8 years that we spent at Northrop, 7 as a head coach and 1 as a dual assistant, it just makes a big difference when we can. I know he's not going to agree with me until we talk it through, and that's great because then it forces me to hey, I got to make sure I know my stuff, and then he's so loyal and he's going to go to bat for me too, and so that's been awesome. Coach Fay, who's the freshman head coach, is gonna join us. Has been helping all summer, and he's going to be my JV coach. New to the Penn sideline this year will be Matt Stoll, who is the Jimtown head coach for the last 3 years. He's going to be our freshman head coach, and that is a huge get for us to bring a guy in that's got some experience as the head coach. He was young when he got the job at Jimtown, and so he wasn't really mentored by anyone, and so to be kind of thrown to the wolves as a head coach, especially in our conference, is not easy. And so for him to come in with the experience of a head coach, but also knowing that he's got an opportunity to coach and grow, and he's going to be a great head coach again when he gets that opportunity at the head coaching level. If he's crazy enough to get back in, you have to be crazy to be a head coach. That's why I'm sitting here. But those three, that's been the guys that have been helping me all summer. I've got a couple more guys that I'm going to bring on staff too. I'm really excited as I'm finishing up the meet and getting to know people, and I think we're going to really complement each other, and it's going to give the opportunity for the kids to get the best out of all of us.
Our conference, the Northern Indiana Conference, we're going to go from 12 teams to 8 after this season. You all could have up to 4 open dates to fill on your schedules. Barak, can you talk about your scheduling philosophy? What do you want to schedule to do for your team? And are there some specifics you want to, like, are we going to get Northwood on the schedule or any tournaments in Indianapolis? What do you want to see?
So I think I try to be really strategic about who we get on our schedule. I think it's really important, being a northern team, that we don't get a whole lot of representation in central Indiana. And so definitely one of the motivations will be to get some kind of opportunity to go play down there, either yearly or by year, every other year, because it's just when it comes to state accolades, Indy area gets all the representation, and that's why it was so exciting. I mean, that tells you how good Marcus was to be able to win Mr. Basketball from one of the most northern schools in the state. It tells you how elite he was, because that doesn't happen very often. Obviously, it had a lot to do with Coach Rhodes and Marcus's performance and in their tournament runs, and so all those things come together. But fortunately, I've had 3 different players that have been finalists for Mr. Basketball over my 15 years, and a lot of that has to do with Coach Rhodes' instruction of, like, hey, you need to make sure you do get out of your area, and you go, if you got guys that can play, you need to pack up your bags and take some road trips, even if it's taking some lumps. And I always think kind of the regular season, they're all practices until tournament anyway. So I'm not afraid of losing games, not afraid of overscheduling. You got to be careful because you can get to the point where you overschedule too much with strength of schedule. But I'd rather have tough games than easy ones as a coach, because I like close games. They're fun. They're way more fun to coach. And so I think a holiday tournament is always great to be able to get away. I've gone to the Kokomo. We've gone to Richmond. And last year we took Valpo to Homestead one, and that was a great one to go to Fort Wayne. So that would be one I'd love to get back into over Christmas break, even though I have a losing record as a coach over Christmas break. But partly that's intentional. I'm going to go play the toughest team I can. My wife hates it because then she's miserable over Christmas because she hates to lose more than I do. But it normally pays off. So I would like to get in the holiday tournament. A team like Carmel would be fun to get on the schedule and go down there and have them come up. I was able to get them on the schedule. But similar teams like that, to make a trip down to Indy at least once, and then you're always looking for good teams in the area. And unfortunately, we play a pretty tough schedule, and most of the good teams in the area. But I definitely would like to continue to play good opponents. Some people have always asked, what about playing teams from out of the state? I'm not a big proponent of that. I don't think it benefits you. Because partly it goes back to the recognition. If you go, let's say we go to Chicago, we play a really good team, and we lose to them, no one knows if that's a good loss. Or if you beat them, no one knows that's a good win. And so when you're trying to promote your program and your team, if you go down and you play, let's say we got Kokomo on the schedule, we went and played and we had a great game against them, didn't win, that would give us more clout than to go to Grand Rapids and play the best team in Michigan and beat them, because everybody like, who's that? And so that would be one thing that I don't love to play teams from out of state, just because I don't think it benefits your program when it comes to state recognition for Indiana All-Star candidates and that kind of stuff. So but definitely we'll be looking, and the other thing I like to do is I like to compete against friends. And so as with the Bethel community and Coach Lightfoot having 30-some former players that are now coaches, I'll reach out to some of my guys that I've coached, that played with, and say, hey, let's see if we can get a game, because that's always fun too.
Kaitlyn, do you have a particular scheduling philosophy? Are there any tournaments you want to see your team get into?
I agree with Barak about trying to play the best in the state. I don't think you can be really considered the best unless you beat the best. And so setting yourself up with a schedule that is tough. I know up here there are quite a few tough teams to play, but I would love to see in future years to build and have Indianapolis teams actually come up to see us. Like, they kind of have a powerhouse down there where they get to play each other every weekend. And we do travel down to Indianapolis and play them a couple times. But I think letting them see our facility and really where we come from and have them travel up a little out of their comfort zone to us would be a huge benefit in multiple ways there.
Jeff, is soccer going to be affected by the conference changes? Will you have an opportunity to pick up some new teams or a new tournament?
Well, in fact, soccer's the opposite. So right now we're in divisions, and so we play 4 league games. That's it, conference games, and so now we'll play 7. So we'll figure that out. But I have the exact same philosophy as these guys in terms of playing the teams from Indianapolis. Number one, they're where the strength of teams in the state are in girls soccer, but also because it does benefit our kids from a state perspective and being seen and recognized. And I've been fortunate to coach 2 Miss Soccers in the last 6 years, Christina Lynch and then Kelsey Carrico, and both of those kids played out of Indianapolis and travel, and so they were obviously known already by all the coaches and athletes down there. But we'll go anywhere in the state to play. We'll go down to Zionsville again this year on Labor Day weekend, and so we play Noblesville every year, and they've been the potentially the most dominant program in the nation the last few years, and so we always look forward to that game every September.
Kaitlyn, besides blue rings, what do you want your players to take away from their time with you in your program?
Well, I definitely asked my coaches a couple days ago what their coaching philosophy is for this year, and everybody was on the same page, and we had the common theme of that we just want to build that character for these athletes so they are better people on and off the court. Like, volleyball can be life for a very few when you really do look at the numbers of it, but can be utilized as a great stepping stone towards the rest of their life. And I work in the HR department at Tremador as well, and just from that standpoint and from going to applying for other jobs too, I know human resource departments love athletes because they do show that time commitment, that time management, how to carry themselves. So I hope that we can model that as an example as coaches, and I really do try to show by example, but then also let them learn how to be themselves but be better humans also after their game is done too.
Barak, what do you want your student athletes to leave your program with, in addition to those experiences hoisting trophies?
Yeah, I always talk about our focus and kind of our goal is to be our best, not the best, because I think the comparison is the theft of all joy. And so, you know, and it doesn't matter. You want to pursue excellence in all you do. And so, because you can beat people and not be very good. You know, and so it's not just about, hey, I'm better than that team or this team. No, we want to be our best. And there's no, and if we win and not playing our best, yeah, we'll take the win, but that's not our objective. Okay, and if we lose playing our best, then we can sleep at night. And we can rest of that. So we're going to be servant leaders. We're going to make people better around us. We're going to pursue excellence. We do, and we're going to set an example and lead by example and be the hardest working group we can be. And if you develop those life lessons, then you'll be successful in any sport, any avenue, and you develop the mental toughness to be kind of tough enough to do life, because today is the easiest day of the rest of our life. And it only gets harder. You know, I always say, like, guys, you think today's tough. Try being a dad that you have to be up all night with a sick daughter and then come to school and act like you want to be there. You know, like, that's tougher than running some lines or losing a game. And so I think just continue to learn those life lessons and pursuing excellence and working to be our best. And if you do that, and you put it all into work, you're going to have a chance to win at a high level. And obviously, every coach wants to win at a high level, and that's the ultimate objective of team sports. But if we can do the rest of those things, I think that objective is going to be much more attainable.
Jeff, what do you want your players to appreciate about their Penn soccer experience?
Well, before I answer that, I mean, I think if you listen to these two talk for the last little bit, you see why we hired them. And so high character, understand why we're coaching high school sports and the importance of high school athletics within a school community. And so we're extremely fortunate to have both of these coaches with us for the long term. With Penn girls soccer, you know, we keep things very simple. Every year is a unique journey. And they both touched on it, if all you care about is the wins and losses, you're going to be bitterly disappointed at the end of the year, because there's over 350 girls soccer teams in the state. Only, you know, each class only has one state champion. And so if that's how you measure your success, good luck. Good luck enjoying life as you move forward. And so there has to be more for it. Very basically, you know, so we want our kids to be passionate and to be enthusiastic about being part of the program. It's the first time, and we have 20-something freshmen trying out. I know you probably have that or more. It's the first time these freshmen are going to be practicing the sport every single day. Travel there at least a couple of days, 3-4 days, but in high school it's every day you're off on Sunday, right? And so maybe an occasional Saturday, whatever it may be. So in that period of time, it's tough, and you have to learn to grind, and you're young and you get tired. You have homework, you're in a new school for the first time, so you have to be passionate about the sport and the team. You have to learn to compete every day, because being a competitive person benefits you, but it also benefits your team. And so whether you are the starter or the 16th person on the team, you have to learn to be a competitive person, because those types of things are going to benefit you down the line. And then be a good teammate. That's such an open statement to make, and we make it cover a lot of things, and it's vague, but kids should understand that.
Well, they know what a bad team looks like.
They do.
And so you can just, like, they may not know what a good team looks like, but they know what a bad teammate looks like.
And you do not want to be that. And that's on the field, on the court, but also in the classroom, in the school, on weekends, away from coaches. And so, be the best teammate you can be. And so we're looking forward to all those types of things. Those are what we expect kids to get out of it. And then it's my responsibility as the head coach, and we tell the parents this when their kids first come to Penn. We want it to be a positive experience for their daughters, so that they love the game as they leave it, and they leave it better than they found it. And that's from our leadership. So it's important to be part of that.
Kaitlyn, you were on 2 state championship teams at Penn. Barak, you were a national champion at Bethel. Jeff, you coached 2 state championship teams at Penn. One was a national championship team. How valuable are championship experiences in coaching? Does that give you an edge, having taken a team to the mountaintop? Jeff?
I don't know if it gives you an edge, other than I can tell the kids, our kids this year, I think we're very good, very talented. And I could tell them, listen, there were girls that won state titles here that were no different than you. They woke up in the morning, they showed up at school, they had issues and fears and concerns and worries about tests and classes and boys and all these different things. They were just teenagers, but they did some things right. They worked together. Their team first mentality, all those types of things took them to the state championship and then to win those big games. And so if kids that did it a few years ago did it in the same hallways, in the same class, in the same uniform, there's no reason you guys can't do it if you trust the process and trust yourselves, trust your teammates, trust your coaches.
Kaitlyn, how valuable is a champion experience?
Well, I think being in that atmosphere as a coach, you can help translate it to your players, just kind of how you were talking there, Jeff, about like not everyone gets this experience, so take it all in. Like when you step out there on that court the first time, maybe you're practicing before a huge game, but really taking in the atmosphere around you and the environment and not just jumping right into the game right away, because it is bigger than just that game. And I still get nervous before every game, whether I'm playing, watching it, or coaching it, but just really learning how to channel those nerves into the energy to be powerful and confident. I think that can really help from that experience and being in such like the light of that experience, really getting to pass that on to the players.
Barak?
It's a great question. Kaitlyn brought up something that was a reminder of the nervousness, and I always tell my players, you're nervous because you care. When you're not nervous, that's a bad sign, because and coach, I think it was Coach Sweet would always tell the players, and this is something I picked up. He's like, everybody has butterflies. You got to learn to get them to fly in formation. And I thought that was a great quote that he always shared with his team, and that was one I brought. But I think the question, it's hard to really know. I think back at my time at Bethel, and one of the things that I developed a mentality is our team didn't lose. We just sometimes would run out of time. And I think that was kind of our mindset. And I look back my freshman year, how we won the national championship. My junior year, where I actually became the 8th man on the team and played a significant role in that national championship run. We were down 8 with a minute and a half to go in the Sweet 16 round and scored the last 11 points of the game to advance and then go on and win a national championship that year. And it came to the point where we expected we were going to win, but we also worked harder. I think that sometimes, it's like teams start to expect that they're going to win and then do less. And it's actually, when you expect to win, you expect it because you know the work. You've earned the right. And I think that is one of the things I probably learned the most at Bethel was just, hey, we're going to earn the right. No one's going to work harder. We don't deserve to win. We're going to earn the right to win, and we're going to do it with no guarantee. And then my junior year, I tore my MCL, and we lost in the national championship game. And through that all, because I didn't know anything different. We just always had won. And then my senior year, we went on to win another national championship. And so that through that all, the highs and the lows, it gave me great perspective too. And I'll never forget, Julius and we won our first sectional championship together. And when we took over Northrop, they'd had one winning season in 15 years. Okay. And they were 2-18 the year that Coach Rhodes and I took over. And then 2 years later, the next year, Coach got 10 wins for the year. And then I got 10 regular season wins. And then we kind of got things rolling. But, we worked so hard to win a sectional title. And that's a pretty substantial thing to do at any sport, but in basketball, it's just one of kind of your benchmarks. Like, hey, that's kind of a huge success. And we get done celebrating, and we're leaving. And it's funny because I was at Northrop this weekend because that's where one of the games were being played. And I looked down the hallway that Julius and I left, and we were walking out to the cars. And I stopped there and I looked at Julius. And, we just celebrated. I was soaked. The guys had dumped water on. You did the whole thing. If you've been a part of it, you guys know what I'm talking about. You've been in that locker room experience. They get back, you ride the bus home, you get the police escort, all these things that are so awesome and great, and you feel amazing, and you get that final break, and all right, we'll talk about regionals next on Monday. And so we're walking out, and I look at Julius, and I said, I got to go home and do the dishes. You know what? This is awesome. This was what we worked so hard for, but it's not really life-changing. I don't get to walk into my house and say, hey, Val, sectional champion, you're doing dishes tonight. It's like, no. Now, I had a smile on my face when I did the dishes, but I think perspective is too, because sometimes we make that goal so important, and it is, but it's not life or death. This is a game. And I think the other thing is we need to keep it fun, and we need to enjoy this, because had we won and then we didn't get to unfortunately advance as far as we were hoping to, but it didn't take away any of those memories, any of those experiences, and then we wanted to start over again, and we wanted to do it again, and I think that's the other thing. You won a state title. You won a state title. Was one enough? No, it's never. I think that's another. Two. That's probably one, right, Coach? That's no. When you win your first sectional title as a coach, that's going to be awesome, but it's fleeting too. So if we put all our faith and hope in that, then we're also missing the boat too. It's part of the process. We're enjoying it. But when I see those guys from those teams, we don't get out the trophy and look at the trophy. We hug each other. We say, hey, it's good to see you. Remember that time we did this? Or remember the fight that happened in practice, and that was crazy? And that those memories are way more important. It's just those are the icing on the cake. And so
it's the memories in those moments. And so every year, anytime we win a sectional, you celebrate. I mean, and it's important because there's no guarantee, like a lot of things in life. And
you'll ever do it
athletics, again? It happens again, and so celebrate it. The bus rides are a lot of fun with kids, that are enjoying it, and so those are great moments. And certainly, I got to do it with some of my kids, and those were great memories.
But you've all been around some incredibly special people. Barak, you got to spend time with John Wooden. Kaitlyn, you were a teammate of an Olympic gold medalist, Annie Drews. Jeff, you coached Christina Lynch, national champion at Florida State. Can you just talk a little bit about those experiences and maybe what you saw in those people that you can talk to your student athletes about and maybe inspire them? Barak?
I was fortunate to make a pilgrimage out to spend the day with Coach Wooden in L.A. and just it was very surreal. And Matt Moore, who's the head coach at Warsaw High School, he and myself and then his two twin brothers and a friend of theirs, the five of us flew out to L.A., met Coach Wooden for breakfast at the, I think it's Jags, which was the restaurant he ate at every morning. Then we went back to his apartment and just spent about 4 or 5 hours hanging out with him, asking him questions. And so, first of all, if you love sports memorabilia, you walk into his 2-bedroom apartment, which is the same one he's been in ever since he moved to L.A. So, it's crazy. And there are just awards and Nobel Peace Prize and everything. And I mean, I've got the video of it because I just walked around and we just sat and talked to him. But one of the things that, especially because I was super young at that age, and I was really trying to, the question that I was like, I gotta ask him is about being balanced, because I always feel like it's really, as a coach, it's really hard to be balanced. It's how do you be an A+ coach and A+ dad and A+ husband and A+ teacher, because it's hard. If you're given somewhere, you're taken from somewhere else. And he just really stressed to me that you've got to stay balanced, because in our profession, it's so easy to get consumed, especially when you start losing. if you lose a couple games or something, and it's like, hey, I gotta stay in the moment and wherever I'm at, be where my feet are. And so that was the thing I probably took away from spending time for him. And even like here we are, we got like, I think I was still a JV coach at Homestead at the time when I was doing this, and we're standing there. Andy Katz, he calls, and you can hear him leaving a voicemail for John Wooden. John's like, "Oh, that's not a big deal," Like he was like doing what he was practicing. Where I'm like, "That's a really good kind of." And then an hour later, Bill Walton calls and, "Hey, John, this is," it's like you're listening to Bill leave a message on John's answer machine because he's talking to these 5 nobodies, and. He wrote a hand note thanking me for coming, and I'm thinking, you're writing me a hand note, and so we left with over 90 autographs from him. He took the time I brought like 15 books, and he signed all these pyramids and stuff. So just to be able to kind of like see a guy that is the pinnacle of coaching success to humble himself and go, hey, you've never done anything as a basketball coach, and you want to be one? Sure, come on over. We'll spend the day together. And to have that opportunity was definitely a good perspective of going, all right, Coolman, you're never too big for anyone. You need to make sure you keep that perspective too.
Kaitlyn, Annie Drews.
I think you nailed it right there with, like, they're never too big for anyone. So I know Annie has come back to Penn and talked to students. She has brought her gold medal to the school for athletes to see it and really get to see that vision. And, like, someone from here, from Elkhart, Indiana, or from Mishawaka was able to succeed at such a high level really does allow the athletes to, like, shoot for the stars. And we've had some of that success around here. And then Annie definitely went along the whole entire path, and it might not have been exactly how she wanted it to be to get to where she is now, but she had to put in all that work and was a gym rat to be there. I know, like, she came over and had to play JV because of the transfer rules back then, and you got an Olympian playing JV. I mean, I'm sure she would have loved to be up on that varsity squad the entire year, but then senior year she stepped right in, and she bought into the program at that moment of junior year, transferring over and getting to continue on, and then going on to Purdue and getting thrown into that back row towards her later years. Like, if you asked her, she would have never thought she gets to play back row. So really just, like, seeing what that coach needed, she took every advantage of getting an opportunity of getting to be on that court. And I've heard the quote that, like, you want to come to practice, you're not forced to come to practice. And I think to be that successful, she definitely embodies that. And I think she was back in town recently, actually. So she comes back, sees all of her local friends still. She'll stay in communication. And when I got this job, the first letter I actually got was from her parents congratulating me. So just, like, how tight-knit the community is, and it's amazing getting to watch her. Like, we would all wake up middle of the night because of the time change just to watch her play in the Olympics. And I mean, if you watch any of her interviews after the games, she speaks so well on how competitive it was for her and for the other right side, competing against each other and for each other, all for that same goal.
Jeff, what was it like being around an elite athlete like Christina Lynch, and what can your players learn from?
Yeah, well, in my case, I knew Christina from the time she was a little kid. She was in my daughter Reagan's class, and so I watched her play t-ball, softball growing up, but it was always soccer that she was drawn to. And as she got towards high school, of course, we knew she was coming. So we knew what kind of player she was, what kind of competitor she was. So Christina has all the traits that these guys have talked about throughout tonight about the elite competitive nature. She hated to lose. She wanted to win in everything. Unmatched work ethic of anyone I've ever coached. Nobody worked harder. So you could drive by the school and you'd see her out on the field with her dad long after practice, shooting the ball on goal while he's just getting lit up as a goalie. And then her ability to be a great teammate. She understood her status in the program and how good she was, and she took kids under her wing and treated everyone exceptionally well, and she was incredibly coachable. And so those are some great qualities. And so she wasn't just a great player locally. She then obviously was the player of the year in the state, and then she was the national player of the year. Goes to Florida State, wins a national championship her freshman year, tears her ACL in the NCAA tournament, so doesn't get to play. And then of course they won another national championship. And she graduated, academic All-American, has come back to Notre Dame for a COVID year, and I expect her to have a monster year this fall. But while all this was happening last year, we had those rash of ACL injuries, and Christina reached out to each of those kids on her own, not prodding from me. I didn't give her the numbers. Either she got it from her brother here at Penn, or somebody was giving her the information and reaching out to those girls and saying, "Hey, listen, the way back is available, and things will be better for you before you know it." And so, just a great representative and a great steward of the game. And I think obviously Coach Wooden is unmatched in that, and the way we talk about Annie Drews is the same. These are elite people in their profession and what they're doing and at their levels, and they continue to give back through the years have. So great stuff.
Final thoughts, Jeff?
Well, I think I mentioned a little while ago, really appreciate you letting us talk tonight. It probably went longer than you expected, but I think it's obvious to anyone that gets to know these two that they were outstanding choices. They both. You asked a great question earlier about, is it going to be a smooth transition? Is there some time? The transition is from two Hall of Fame coaches, and so that in itself is a big deal. And so the things they talked about were spot on, and it's never easy being a first-year coach. I look back now and I some of the things that I did, and just was fortunate that they didn't blow up in my face. And Kaitlyn's off to a great start, and she's got a great supporting cast, and obviously we're here to help her in any way, and as is Coach Coolman. And so he's already become a mentor in the school for us, and we'll continue to lean on him because he's had a lot of great experience, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have both of these guys here. It's going to be a great school year for us.
Kaitlyn?
Yeah, I think the support staff has just been amazing. They've really allowed me to focus on the volleyball side and take care of the kind of behind the scenes administrative things to get ready for the fall with it coming up so soon. And then Coach Coolman reached out to me right when I got it, and we actually talked about, I asked all the questions about tryouts and cuts and parent meetings and those things that I went through but I haven't gone through as a parent, and he's been very helpful with things to be aware of, things to make sure you point out, and things to stay clear about. And I've talked to a couple of the other coaches in the NIC or the NLC too, just to kind of get their feedback. They've all been doing it for a couple of years. So I feel comfortable, obviously, in a great position to be able to take on this program. But yeah, great help all around, and I feel welcomed by the community and support of everyone. So I hope we have tons of fans in those brand new bleachers. We're trying to really broadcast and showcase what these kids can do.
Barak, any thank yous or final thoughts?
Well, honestly, I think the most important thank you is to you.
Yeah.
For this is also not normal what you do, because as special as Penn athletics is, you take it to the next level. Just in my short time of getting to know you, and I know the great thing is I know you don't do it for you, and I don't know you that well, but I can already tell it's not about you. You're doing this because you're so proud of what Penn has to offer, and you're helping present that to the world with your strengths. And so thank you for giving us the opportunity to sit down and talk about what we love and whether no one listens to this or everyone in the world listens to this, it's been a success because we've been able to develop more time together. And again, from the bottom of my heart, from the moment I became the head coach here, you've made it feel special. And along with it, and so it's kind of one of those things where many people over promise and under deliver. And so far, my experience with Penn is they've under promised and over delivered, and they've promised a fair amount. And which is really cool from top to bottom. So thank you so much. And obviously, it's been great to spend time with and learn even through this conversation. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it is an incredible team. Jeff's put together our athletic program. There are bridges, there aren't walls, and I really love the kids, and it is great to be part of all of these moments, and I've just learned so much from you guys. And really the learning how much you care about student athletes and helping develop them into great citizens. It's going to be exciting to see. So I hope all of our fans come out to watch the Kingsmen. All sports passes are on sale for all Kingsmen teams. It really is a program that you want to be a part of, and supporting it through All Sports Passes is one of those ways. And you can stay up to date on Kingsmen athletics with Pennant social media. Thank you for being here, Coach Coolman, Coach Hickey, Coach Hart, and thanks everybody for listening.